Hello and welcome. Hello, everyone. My name is Paige Lussier Johnson, and I am your host for a Zoom interview series called Heart as a Compass. For those of you that don't know me, I started this Zoom interview series way back in 2005 via old radio technology, and then moved it online to Blog Talk Radio. And it's in its third phase now with Zoom interviews. I am an actress, an artist, a performer, a healer, a mom. I'm all these things. And I found that we all don't fit into nice little tiny boxes. We all have these beautiful, wonderful stories to tell. And I like to consider myself a collector of stories. And when I meet someone and their energy vibrates, I immediately want to know everything about them. And my guest today is one of those people. Actually, I had an opening on my show and I met her just a couple weekends ago, and her energy was so vibrant that it was an absolute yes for me. Luckily, she was available today for our Zoom interview. So I am so blessed because I have so many things I want to talk to her about. And I am so excited to hear her story live on the air with all of you as well. For those of you that follow this podcast and this show is about following your intuitive guidance. It's about using your heart as a compass and living life with joy. And when I meet people like that, I want to share their stories. Today's guest is Susi, and she is an amazing artist. She is a psychic. She is a healer. And I met her actually at a tarot reading, a psychic live event, and she was a reader and I was a reader. And she is also an amazing artist. She has her own tarot deck that she designed. I got to see them. They're beautiful. So with no further ado, please welcome to our show, Susi. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Paige. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's such an honor. So when I meet new people, and especially when you kind of check all the boxes for me, you're an artist, you're a healer, you're an educator. Those are all my three people that I vibe with in my life. We started talking a little bit and we didn't really have time throughout the event. So a lot of this is very new for me too. So I'm very excited to hear your story. The big question I like to find out when I meet someone like you and all this beauty and energy that you have is I want to know your story. And I know it feels long to tell your story because you're like, people don't want to know your story. Yes, Susi, we do. We want to know your story. So tell us about you and how you became the beautiful human that you are today.
Well, I could go all the way back, but we don't have enough time for that. That would take hours. So let's start when I was in college and I went to school for art. I became a commercial artist working for an advertising agency. But at that time, I also met what would be my husband. And we started a family very early. So I commuted back and forth to Manchester where I was working at the time until it was time for me to have my first child. And I decided that it would be better for me to not commute those long hours and to stay in the area. So I got a job at a preschool where I could take my child, just doing artwork with preschool children. And from there, I did freelance work and had my second child. And from there, I started a hand-painted clothing business, which basically Spirit decided that I needed to get out of the depression that I was in of lack, not working really, putting all this demand on my husband, who at the time was not doing well because when I married him, he had a heart condition. So I started painting. I painted hand-painted clothing for my children. And people started to say, gee, you should do a business. And so I literally started the business in tears because it was fear. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have the money. I was afraid to step out of that zone that I was in, which is crazy when I think about it, because I was the only one of the 4 kids that went off to college. So I didn't have a problem doing that. I didn't have a problem working in an advertising agency an hour away from home. But this was different, because this meant that I had to split myself up 3 ways. And did I have the capability of doing that, particularly if I knew that my husband was going to need me? And Spirit said, you don't have a choice. You have got to do this. If you want to eat and you want to pay the bills along with your husband, you've got to do this. So I went out. I had $70 to my name, literally. And I went and bought some sweatshirts, and I hand painted these sweatshirts, and I put them in a garment bag, and I went to the neighboring town and peddled them at shops. I got somebody to babysit for my children for a little bit, probably my sister, because she would do it for nothing. And the first shop that I walked into was called the Winged Pig. And I showed them my sweatshirt. And she said, well, what are you asking? And I said, $35 a piece. And she said, I'll take them all. So not only did I sell all of those sweatshirts, I made back my $70 and then some. So I went home and I did the same thing. And then I did the same thing. And then people started to notice. And then I got individual contracts to do specialty sweatshirts and specialty dresses and specialty t-shirts. And so that just blossomed for a couple of years. And I'll never forget that first summer, I made $2,000. Now, when you look at that, you think $2,000, that's not a lot of money. But 40 years ago, staying home with my kids, $2,000 was a lot of money, and it was money we didn't have.
I'm going to interject. The fact that you made money doing something that you love and you followed your heart, that is a huge gift. Don't undercut whether it was 40. If you make $2,000 now doing something you love, following your heart as a compass, that is a way to celebrate. So I'm not going to allow time to put any restrictions on your celebration. That is beautiful. And it lifts my soul on so many levels. As a mother who's been in that fear place and working through it, how do I provide for my family? How do I be an artist and a mom and a wife and all these things? You bring so much joy to my soul when I hear your story. And I know that there are other women and men that are listening to this story that are feeling that, yes. Because what you said first was the fear. And the fear, can you talk to that fear? Because that's what I'm looking for. That's what we're all trying to figure out. How do you go through the fear? How do you follow your heart as a compass and step through that fear? Because that's the hardest part.
Well, it's not actually stepping out and stepping in. It's getting out of the way.
Yeah.
When our human selves steps out of the way, we push the emotions aside and we focus on that one thought of step by step, I'm going to do this. It starts as a thought, then it becomes an action, and you have all these emotions doing this, grabbing at you. But when you step out of the way and allow spirit to guide, you will never go wrong. And I don't even like using the word wrong. You will keep moving forward. Your focus will grow larger. You will become larger. And I'm not talking in terms of being, internationally known. I'm talking about what is best for your soul.
Yes.
Because you could make $10 off a piece of jewelry that you made. And that $10 is equal to somebody's million.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's the value that we place on the joy that we get when we're in the experience.
Yes. Yep.
And if that joy supersedes everything else, it's easy to let go of the fear. It's easy to let go of all those voices. And there are voices.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Good and bad, all over the place.
What are you doing leaving that job? You're making $70,000 a year. You mean to tell me that you're going to stay home and paint sweatshirts all day? But the value that is placed on taking care of the children, being present for the children, being present for your partner, who is a separate part of that, being present for yourself.
Yes.
Most people put themselves last.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about it in an egotistical sense. I'm talking about it in a filling up of the cup sense. Filling up of the well, so that in that experience, you are so happy that that happiness extends outward to all of the people around you.
Yeah.
And then they see you happy and they're thinking, oh, I want some of that.
Right.
Why do so many kids, and I was a teacher for 11 years, I was an art teacher for 11 years. Why do so many kids enjoy coming home to their parents? Most of them. Not all. Not all do. But I'm saying, as a general rule, let's just talk generally. In the sense that the parent is doing what they love, they're home, the kids get off the bus, they come to the door, the parent is there to welcome them most of the time, let's say. Those kids aren't coming home to an empty house. Now, I'm not saying that all situations need to be like this, but I'm just giving an example. When we come home to ourselves, when we come home to the soul that incarnated into this skin,
yes,
there is no stopping that soul. And even the situations that occur that might seem like roadblocks or interferences in that frequency are not. They're just more experiences for us to learn how to navigate through that and come out the other side.
I love it. Yes, I agree. I love what you're saying, because it's like when you can ignite your own light inside of yourself, if you can find what brings you joy on any level, small, big, it doesn't have to be this huge cover of a magazine, right? It can be, if it brings a smile to your face, if it feels like a yes in your heart, you're right. People notice it. People can feel it. I know that when I met you, I felt that energy. I was like, yes, like there's a beautiful energy that surrounds you. And as I've been working recently, especially with boundaries, I'm also seeing that priorities are so important. And I hear that in your message about figuring out what your priorities are, because chances are your joy will be in what you consider to be the most important aspects of your life. If your
Yeah.
family is the most important aspect of your life, but you're chasing the dollar, you're going to feel unfulfilled. Yeah.
Exactly. It's an imbalance. And I'd like to back up a little bit. I'm not saying that all situations where people work outside the home,
Mm-hmm.
that there's not an imbalance. That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
The imbalance happens when there is a vibrational shift that creates an imbalance frequency. In other words, if I love my job outside the home,
then you're bringing that joy back into your home.
Exactly.
Feeding your family in your home. Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so my answer to people that are working a job that maybe they don't wake up in the morning and say, I love my job, although that's a good way to shift it.
Mm-hmm.
My answer to them would be being in that space of loving the job. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's separate. We're talking about the heart space.
Mm-hmm.
I love my job. I love my job. Every day, get up and say, I love my job. Now, is that a reality? No, because you don't love your job.
But you could love aspects of your job. And that's where gratitude is. I feel have 10 things or 5 things that you do in fact love about your job and focus on those 5 good things instead of the 35 yucky things. And that's more of that. Like
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
And it could also bring the heart into alignment with the subconscious mind that is keeping this person from becoming conscious of where they are at that moment, so they can feel good about either making a shift or staying where they are.
Yes. Beautiful. Yes. Now, you are an entrepreneur, you're an artist, you are painting sweatshirts, you are providing for your family. What happened
And
next?
I do something else too, which
Tell
is
me.
totally, which I'm attributing that to putting me where I am today. And I will let you know. When my daughter, my youngest daughter moved up, I had a son after my first husband passed away. And grief is a whole other issue. We'll leave that for another time. Maybe I can come back and talk about that. But my first husband passed away and I remarried a musician. You want to talk about energy. So I had my youngest daughter from my first marriage was moving up to high school. And I was at a point where I knew that I wanted to do something else. And I knew that the educational system, for better, for worse, whatever, doesn't matter, was shifting. And I wasn't sure I wanted to go in that vein. So I started working I wanted to work in the summer to bring in extra money, even though I was getting a teacher paycheck. And a girlfriend of mine had a cleaning business and she was looking for somebody. So I started working for her. And I did that for a couple of years. And I had people that knew me that said, oh, I didn't know you were cleaning houses. I would love for you to clean mine, because they knew me. And they knew they could trust me. So little by little, I started taking on people. And that grew. 18 years later, I'm still doing that job. But that job enabled me, talk about, being in that vortex or that zone or that flow. I am connected to at least 5 artists that own homes. I am connected to people that have very similar interests, not necessarily art. They're entrepreneurs themselves. But while I was cleaning houses, I moved into a space in my mind, in my thoughts, in my subconscious,
Mhm.
that I could not otherwise experience.
Hmm.
And this is where I began to write down a lot of messages that I would receive. I carried a pad of paper in my car. Simultaneously, I also went through a very difficult time around 2009. I want to say I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, but nervous breakdown, those are just words that we humans use.
Mhm.
When I look back, it was a breakdown of the old conditioned Susie
Yes.
and a moving into the new unconditioned,
Mhm.
more open.
Mhm.
Now, here's a message to people that are experiencing pain right now.
Mm.
And I mean this with all of my heart. If that pain never happened in your life, my life, our lives,
Mhm.
we would not know what complete, pure, unadulterated joy is once we move out of that pain.
Yes. Beautiful.
There's no comparison to prior to seeing a flower, as I mentioned on my Facebook this morning, seeing that flower going, oh, that's a pretty flower. I think I'll pick that pretty flower. I think I'll put that flower in a vase. That's as far as it goes. To now looking at that flower, looking at every single petal, looking at all of the colors that those bees,
Mhm.
cross-pollinated, and the bugs that are going in and out of it.
Mm.
And saying to that flower, you give me joy. I love you. You unfolded like I unfolded. That's the difference.
That's beautiful. And what I love too is you have this message of sometimes we have these jobs or these experiences that we don't understand necessarily what they are, but there's a wisdom in it. And I connect so much with the house cleaning as well, because when you have space to clean, to let go, to be in that kind of quiet, contemplative space, that's really when you hear the whispers of guidance.
That's
That
right.
your heart can open up and hear the messages, and where you can start thinking, oh, that's a new thought. How interesting. That's a new thought. That doesn't sound like me. And when you're having those thoughts, you go, oh, that's when you know you're getting guidance.
That's
Because
right.
thought feels different and it sounds different. And it's so loving and it's so sweet.
Yes.
And when
Yes.
you follow that, it is exactly like an unfolding. I love your image of the flower. I could see it, I could feel it. It's just so, so beautiful to think of, because we are all truly unfolding. And
Yes.
the scary times and the hard times are so difficult, but you're right. We breathe through it. And then we can look back at those moments with a gratitude that other people can't explain, because it's your
Exactly.
own inner story. It's your own journey.
I think that it's so simple that it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In other words, how do you explain? How do you explain to someone that is saying to you, no, you don't get it. This is what I do every single day. And I come home and I throw myself on the couch after my shower and I eat and I'm asleep. And it's the same thing every day. And you begin to explain that person needs to be ready.
Mm.
Being ready is really important.
Mm.
It's like, and I don't know if I want to use some sacred text, because I think that people think that the way that we're talking eliminates that. but it doesn't. It brings you to it. There is a quote in the Bible where St. Paul says to, I can't remember who, I'm going way back now. Why are you constantly kicking your foot against the rocks? You know that you've got to travel down this road. You know that there are rocks down this road, but instead of navigating in and out, you keep going full steam ahead, not paying attention and kicking your foot against the rocks. So to me, the message of that is putting yourself in alignment with Source, with God, and not trying to figure it out so much.
Yeah.
You know, Paige, when you're in the middle of something that's uncomfortable, the first thing you want to do is clutter your mind to figure it all out.
Yes.
So we are readers to help other people decompartmentalize and compartmentalize. In other words, take out the stuff that's unnecessary and put in the stuff that's necessary for their own personal guidance. Now, if they are not ready, and I was not ready at one time.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there. If they are not ready, they are not going to hear the message.
No.
And they're going to go from person to person to person to person, and they still won't be ready. Being ready is a surrender.
Yes.
It's a surrender to, okay, enough already. I'm ready. I want to know. I want to hear. I want to be present. And sometimes the thoughts that we allow to come in when we're ready and we surrendered and we accept might be so simple as get out of your own way. Respond with love, not anger. Touch that person on the shoulder, no words. It could be very simple at first. And the more that we are open to that, the more the messages become deeper, which is how I created my card deck.
Oh, perfect segue. Yes. Do you have any to show and tell us all about them? They're gorgeous, everyone. I saw them and I was shocked. They're beautiful.
Well, this is the deck. And I created this feather because at the moment of, I want to say my awakening, but that's just a word that we put on.
I agree.
Okay. So, but I'll say awakening for everybody else. I was sitting out on my porch one afternoon. I was all by myself. My kids were in school. I had gotten out of work, and I asked for a sign. I'm like, I almost feel weird that I'm thinking and feeling like this. Just give me a sign. Okay. I know that seems like I don't have enough faith, but just give me a sign. And a feather. I kid you not. We have a farmer's porch, and where I was sitting, I could look out. A feather dropped, must have fallen off a bird. And it came down, and it did this, and it did this, and it just floated to the ground, and I knew. And that's where I painted this feather. So the deck is called Light, because it's light that comes in. Fragments, because they were very fragmented, similar to love, not anger. Oracle, A-U-R-A, call cards. Aura, as in our aura, because I can see auras.
Beautiful.
Now, the first aura that I saw, which I believe that I've always been able to see, was when I was doing my self-portrait in 1977. I see year. I was able to take a lot of art class electives by the time I got to my senior year. And I created my self-portrait, which was totally different than the self-portraits that were being created. I don't know if you can see this card. There might be a glare.
Is that yours?
Yeah, this is my self-portrait.
Oh,
Now,
you did that in high school?
yes.
Wow.
So the colors go way out to here, but because of the card, it had to be cropped. But we've got green and a little bit of white and blue. And over here on the real painting, there's some pink on the shoulder. And so my instructor said, what's up with all the colors? Okay, I can handle the triangles. Talk about compartmentalizing. I didn't realize that then. I didn't realize the triangle either. But what's up with all the colors? And I said, I don't know. That's just how I see.
Your synesthesia, right? That's a psychic gift of being able to see and sense different. And for those of you that are listening, there are so many different ways that we have psychic gifts. And a lot of everybody thinks that a psychic gift is like somehow you see pictures in your mind when your eye is closed. There's so much more. There's so much more. Everyone experiences their psychic gifts in different ways, and they're like muscles that you can exercise and you can grow into. And so what Susi's saying here is that she has synesthesia, which is the ability to see the world in different ways. A guest we had last week sees music and auras and colors of water, and it's such a beautiful gift. I will just want to share this one story. My daughter, when she was a little girl, she was like 3, and I think I was like grouching at her to clean her room, and she looked at me and she's like, "Mommy, I don't like your colors." And I stopped and I was like, and it completely grounded me, and I was like, "Oh, what color am I?" And she's like, "I like when you're blue and purple, but not this." And I was like, "Okay, well, let's wait until I can get blue and purple again. Then I can help in your room." But it was this beautiful thing. And she still has that gift. And in fact, she's been helping me open up to that own gift. So children, for those of you that are parents, don't forget that your children have gifts that you might not understand. And if they say or do something that you don't understand, remember it could be a gift, and to evolve with them, because they're here to be your teachers just as much as you are.
So I wanted to just say that, well, you figure 1977, and the first time that I became aware. So this is interesting. And this has to do with all of us. We are given the ability. Okay, I'm sorry. Hi, everybody.
Well, sometimes things go topsy-turvy before we get aware, right?
So to me, this is joy, okay? You don't get all uptight about it. You laugh about it, because life is full of these experiences.
Exactly.
And what happened was I looked over, I saw my cat, and I'm like, oh gosh, I hope he doesn't pluck at the rug because I shut the door. And I went to pick up my cats, and down you all went. But anyway, so I wanted to.
I love it. I love that you're laughing. Keep going.
So that time between 1977 and 2009, when I had that experience that was very difficult, we're all given the ability to make choices. This is important.
Yeah.
It's free will. And we make these choices, and those choices create other choices that we have to make. So when you're busy with your life doing all kinds of things that are necessary, it's necessary when you get married to engage with the person that you marry. You're autonomous, but you've now taken on a partner who is also autonomous. So that's a whole other experience. And then you have children, and that's a whole other experience. and blah, 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 on and on and on. And somehow we get wrapped up in that we almost lose who we really are. Like teenagers, it happens with teenagers. Their bodies are changing. They don't know what's going on, and they're different than they were when they were 5 years old, and they could blurt stuff out. You don't know where it came from. You never talk that way, but they're talking that way. So the whole goal of our individual lives is to go back to who we are by knowing who we are. And so when I started to create these, I was on a Facebook group page that you had to be accepted to get into. It was for psychic development. And one day, everybody was talking, and I thought, you know, I bet I could paint auras. Well, duh. So I went and I put on there that I was going to read people's auras. And I was nervous because what if I made a mistake? I went and I got a piece of paper. I got a bunch of colors of paint, and I threw the paper on the floor. And I started to show people, no face, just their outline, different colors. And I'm like, oh gosh, now I got to read them. Some of the colors I read, but then as I began to research some of the colors and add my own interpretations, I realized that these are not just energy auras. These are deeper. These are things that are going to help these people on their journey. These are like who they really are. And so fast forward to doing fairs and venues and psychic events, whatever, I created hundreds of these soul auras that I called them. And I got permission from the people to be able to create a card deck. I'm condensing the whole experience, but I want to show you now. This one is really interesting. This is called, let me put it so you guys can see it. Darkest Before Dawn.
I can see the pictures, just not the words underneath it.
That's good.
Yeah, beautiful.
Just because I can explain it.
Yeah.
So, not that I don't want you to know, of course I do. This woman, I've never met her. She's from Wisconsin. She contacted me and said, I would like you to paint a soul aura of me. Now, I was early on doing this. And I create these on watercolor paper with acrylic paint, watered down, because I wanted these to be accessible to people to heal.
Beautiful.
I did not want to do these on canvas and charge somebody $1,000,
Right.
which I could do.
Sure.
But how is that going to help somebody that doesn't have $1,000?
For you, it was a service, a gift.
It was a gift.
Yes.
So I charge. I'm not going to say what I charge. People can contact me.
That's you. Exactly.
Because they also get a typed up, detailed reading along with the picture. And I sign the picture, and they're frameable. So when you put these in a frame, you really can't tell that they're not, that they're on paper. So this woman, okay, in here, she has kind of blonde hair, and you see the black.
Yep.
I focused on her picture because I can do them remotely. So the person has to send me a picture of themselves. And I focused remotely on this person, and she has black hair, and I kept saying, I don't think, see, this is the doubt, because I was new. I said to her, I don't think I'm connecting properly. I keep seeing a girl with blonde hair. She wrote me back. At that point in time, we did everything by on Facebook. She wrote me back and she said, well, I don't have black hair. I have blonde hair. That's my natural color. I dye my hair black because I like how I look with black hair. And that was the first clue that I knew that I was connecting properly. The other thing was that I didn't know was, see this medallion right here?
Yeah, it's like a spiral. Yep.
Yeah. Well, she is a healer, but she was also creating jewelry at the time, her own jewelry. And she was infusing that jewelry. So when people purchased the jewelry, they were getting a special healing message.
Wow.
You guys, can you hear my dog outside the door, Paige?
It's not terrible. No, keep going. Okay,
I'm going to he'll get tired of it. So I created this card deck. Now there are, let's see, there's also a card in here that explains very simply all of the colors. These right here, it's just called basic aura colors.
Yep.
Now, to read the deck, you're going to look at, let's go with this one. So you're going to look at this card deck, and the first color around the person here is purple. And that is called the core color. That is who that person really is, truly is. That is their soul that carnated into their human form, who they really are. And so their career path or who they engage with has to have some sort of intuitive basis in order for them to be happy.
Oh, interesting.
When the cards are read, the focus is only on the core color because the person you're reading for is not this person. So that's how the cards can be read. So I created this deck and I sold them. I sold about 350 decks.
Wow, great.
However, this cost me thousands of dollars to create.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put this out there. Spirit knows who you are. I'm looking for someone that will help me to reprint these on a lighter cardstock, because these are hard to shuffle. They're very, they'll last you forever. On a lighter cardstock, I want to eliminate the wording. I want just the heading. And I have a couple of other pictures I'd like to add and some I'd like to take out. And I want to get these card decks reprinted. So anybody out there that wants to contact me, you can contact Paige and she'll, and I'll give Paige a free deck when they're printed as a gift. So I'm working on another deck right now, and these decks, I believe, the deck is symbols. And I got these symbols. Let me see if I can find a card that has a symbol on it. Okay, right here. See this symbol right here?
Yes.
So sometimes when I do readings.
Have you ever studied Pleiadians? Do you work with the Pleiadians? It looks like a Pleiadian sigil.
Honey, I came from the Pleiadians.
Well, sister, here we are. There's another connection.
Hold on, I'm going to let my dog in. Why don't you talk to your audience? Folks, I'll be right back.
Well, actually, I'm going to take a second. I'm going to hold up Susie's business card right here so you can see it. There's this beautiful spiral with the Fibonacci right here that I wanted to show everyone as well. I think you told me that there was a story behind that, right?
Yes, actually, I have seen spirals. I have seen spirals forever. When I took a pottery class in college, I loved throwing stuff on the wheel, but what I really loved doing was, after, I didn't care that it was perfect. I liked taking the piece and then I liked fashioning it the way I wanted to fashion it. And a lot of my pieces have spirals in them. And so when I started to do these, see, there's a spiral. I oftentimes see them outside coming in, and they mean something. Like if a spiral is next to a person's left ear and on top of their crown, then that means that they're there and they want you to listen. They want you to put yourself in a position where you can quiet your mind and listen. So they're coming in. People think, oh, they come just in here. Okay, so this is the alignment. But they're not just here, they're here. So I started to see symbols, and I've got little Post-its and I've got these symbols on there and I know what they mean.
Yeah, neat.
So that's my next card deck that I want to create.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Now, we're getting towards the end of the show, so let's talk about how people can get in touch with you. How do they find you?
I am Intuitive Art on Facebook.
Okay.
So it's I Am Intuitive Art by Susie on Facebook. You can go to, you know what? I am beyond this. I don't want people to see what I do on Facebook because we are all of who we are. Okay? Good, bad, or indifferent, if you want to put labels onto it. But we are all of who we are. So I am Susi Marrotte on Facebook. I am Light Fragments Auracle, AURACLE on YouTube.
Yes.
And I would love, you know what I want? I don't want people to be afraid to subscribe to my channel, listen, and then ask me questions.
Yeah.
I want to engage with everybody. This universe is so huge, and there's a place for everybody. And then the other, let me think. I'm on Instagram well, if you type in Light Fragments Oracle, you'll find me somehow on Instagram. I can't remember what my actual name is on there either.
Okay.
Yeah. What else am I supposed to say, Paige?
Well, do you have
my email?
Okay.
Let me just say, if you can contact me via Facebook on Messenger, because I'm always on my computer when I'm not working outside the home. My email is Susi, SUSI Marrotte, MARROTTE @gmail.com. Send me an email.
Beautiful.
Because I'm on it every day.
And I know that you often do, for those of you that are local in the Adnock region, you're often doing as a reader at Life Path Fellowship.
Well, back in 2012, 2011, 2012, I was going everywhere. I was everywhere. I was in Gloucester. I was way the heck up in New Hampshire. I was over the border into Maine, and Massachusetts. It got very tiring for me while I was working my job during the week. So Life Path Fellowship is in Jaffrey. And so I am a reader there periodically. I am going to be there on July 2nd, which is a holiday weekend. But if you're not doing anything on that day, come and see me. I would
Yeah.
love to have you. And I have Blue Butterfly of Hope. She has like bi-yearly events that people can sign up for, so they get more than one healing modality. If people sign up as a group, she gives a discount. It's very reasonable.
Neat.
Where else do I work? I got somebody else just recently contacted me, so I'm probably going to be painting soul auras there. And I also paint scry.
Ooh, what's that?
That happened by happenstance when I was painting a soul aura, and I was going to clean my brush in the water. I just threw my brush in there, and I made some waves in there, and I went to do something else, and when I came back, I realized that I could read what was going on in the water.
Cool. Like tea leaves, but paint? Oh,
yes.
Yeah, that is a hot tea.
My great-grandmother was a tea leaf reader. So I believe that by spiritual osmosis, I obtained that gift. But Paige, can I just say one thing? Some souls that are older, when they're incarnated into their human body, they already have this knowing. They already know this gift. But there are other souls that had it way back. When they incarnate, they don't know how to tap into that. And that's what we're here for, is to teach them how. Do you know, intuition is not limited to card reading or mediumship or paint scrying. Intuition is massive.
Yes, and it's individual, like you just said. Like right now, I keep telling my children, there are jobs that they're going to be working that haven't even been invented yet. They could be inventing them. And it's the same way with psychic abilities, is that you might have your own psychic ability that's different. I know that when I became a Reiki master, for a long time, what I was doing wasn't Reiki. So then I was going, well, I'm not good enough because it comes through different for me, until I realized Spirit was channeling through me because I'm a channel, and that's how I do things.
That's right.
Sometimes instead of looking at it as like there's a deficiency in you, like, oh, I do this differently, so it's wrong, realize that it might be a gift that's just specifically for you. Like paint scrying, that is beautiful. Do you know how many times I've looked at the paint in the water and thought how beautiful it was? I've even dipped with my kids to make our own paintings. But when you said that paint scrying, I was like, there was an immediate yes for me. I was like, yes, that is absolutely amazing. Love it.
So I did that for a long time at Winnicott Castle once a month. It was a weeknight, which was hard, but I did paint scrying there too. So I have my own special bowl that I created that has my hands in it. So everything about it has that energy. I would recommend that if people are going to make a choice to move into the healing vein, that they use the things that they love. Like, let me just give you an example. I have a stone here. Okay. See the stone? See that right here? I found this stone at a time when I really, really, really needed it. As above, so below, arms outstretched, welcoming. Just because this is not a crystal.
Exactly.
It is a healing stone. So people can use what they have in their own environment that means something to them.
Yes.
Just be who you are. Yes. That's all Spirit asks.
I love that. And that's the whole point of this. I'm so glad you came on here today, is to follow your heart as a compass, is to open up to your yeses, is to start stepping out and follow your truth, whatever that may be. And listening to other people's stories is such a beautiful way of opening up to give us the grace to follow our own path. And your story has been so beautiful. And so you just warmed my heart in so many ways.
Well, Paige, I never expected that the day that I was going to Life Path that I would meet you.
Well,
and that's how it works.
It is how it works, right? People come into our lives at just the right moment for just the right reasons. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
I think you kind of summed it up perfectly. Was to just be true to your soul, to find yourself, and I love that. Be true
to yourself and get out of your own way. Get out of the analytics. And just allow.
Yes. And if we all do that, going back to what you said earlier, we will light up that light in our own soul, and other people will see it, and it'll inspire them. And that's one light at a time, one person at a time, one smile at a time. That's how we change the world.
Yes, because that one is all.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, honey.
Well, it has been my honor to have you on the show. For those of you that are listening, please, I will put in the links and comments all the ways to get in touch with Susie. If you have any problems, of course, reach out to me and I will connect you. Next week, I have my next guest is named Amy Moncrief. She's a beautiful, young, vibrant, sensual goddess soul that I met at a corporate job, and we were both dying in it, but we connected with each other, and that's why we were together at that job, because our souls needed to connect. And she's a wonderful person. So we're going to hear from her next week about her life and her heart as a compass journey. Please like and subscribe and share and spread the word. If you'd like to be on my show, I'd love to meet you and talk about ways that we can collaborate and connect. Follow your heart, be a compass, be a light. Thank you, Susie. Thank you for being here. It has been my honor.
So it is. And so it is.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a blessed day.